What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Halving Report podcast. Tonight, we have the honor of speaking to Shaun Somers. Tonight, it's like we were saying a little bit earlier, it's been about 2 years since we spoke.
Time flies.
July 2022. I was reviewing our footage a little bit just to kind of recollect what we talked about. The price then was 25,000 Canadian dollars. What is it today?
Last I checked, I think we'd come back up to 96,000 Canadian dollars, right? So we had a bit of a dip. We started off high, dipped down low again. I think it's found a lot of resistance going down, so it's bounced back up. I didn't check right before I left the house, so I'm going to say 96.
96, yeah, that sounds about accurate. We haven't hit the 100,000 Canadian mark yet, have we?
No, not officially yet. Okay. Although it was because of the spread. I did see on Bull Bitcoin for sale at $100,000, just over. So some people bought sats for 100,000 Canadian dollars. The ask is over 100 for a bit there. So yeah.
Okay. But 100,000 US is going to be our big milestone.
That's a huge milestone, right? Yeah. Take the laser eyes off, right? I can stop swinging the kettlebell every day.
So tell me about that. You're on some sort of kettlebell protest.
Yeah. So I don't know who started it. It was on Twitter, 100 a day till 100K. And they were talking about doing 100 push-ups a day, right? And I don't know, maybe you're a push-up guy. I'm not a push-up guy. I'm a little bit larger and pretty tall. So I've got long arms. Push-ups are not really my thing. And I knew that if I started 100 push-ups a day, it just wasn't going to happen. I'm probably going to end up with a torn rotator cuff or something, right?
For sure.
I was into kettlebells for a while, so I got a bunch of kettlebells, right? So I started with the 16 kilogram kettlebell, swinging it 100 times a day, at least 100 times a day. And every 21 days, I'm going to do a difficulty adjustment up 4 kilograms. So I'm up to 20 kilograms right now. And we'll keep going up until I would think it would probably be 5 difficulty adjustments. I need to buy a new kettlebell. So let's hope we can hit that 100K USD ASAP.
Okay. So sorry, how long have you been doing this?
Just the swinging? I've only been doing it for about 23 days now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and what have you noticed much of a difference so far?
It got the first kettlebell got easy, right? Because that's a bit of a cardio workout, bit of a grip workout, bit of a overall strength workout. Yeah. So that one got easy after 100. So the last few days, no problem at all. Now the difficulty adjustment, it's getting a little bit tougher, and it's no problem. But hopefully we'll go through the same thing. If things don't go the way we hope they do, I might end up swinging a 200-pound kettlebell for so I can be maybe be a little stronger as we get a little more wealthy. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm quite confident we'll hit that 100K. You might be going for a bit. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, let's jump into, there's a lot of people interested in Bitcoin right now. Obviously, we see that when there's new all-time highs. What would you say to a normie right now? What's the current state of Bitcoin?
The current state of Bitcoin, and I've told this to normal people, right? Whether it's friends, people at work, whatnot. I said, we are just getting started. And I've said that over again. We're just getting started. The bull run, I think, is just beginning. We've got a lot of ways to go. I know we've hit all-time high. I don't know about you, but this doesn't seem that exciting to me. It's not as exciting as an all-time high as some of the things before. So I don't know if that means it's going a lot higher. I don't know if it just means that I'm worried that it's going to drop again. I have no idea. But I really do think that even though, we may bounce around a little bit, we could drop from here down maybe $10,000, $20,000 even. But the halving is coming, which, by the way, you must be fired up about as the halving report, right?
Absolutely fired up.
Coming up in less than... just over a month, right? Just over a month, we're hitting that halving.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be huge for price action. So come the end of the year, who knows where we're going to be.
Yeah.
But we're still early. So I'm going to tell that normie or that person who's not in Bitcoin at all, start studying Bitcoin, buy a little bit of Bitcoin, and hold on for the ride.
Yeah. Get your feet wet. To get off zero is a big one, right?
Get off zero, yes, definitely.
So one particular thing is that this all-time high is unprecedented in Bitcoin history before the halving event.
Definitely.
What do you take on that?
Yeah, so that I didn't see it coming. Did you see it? I don't know. People didn't see that coming, right?
I would have said maybe 40, 50,000 going into the halving.
I said multiple times we were gonna get up to that. We were in that 50,000 Canadian range, 50,000, 60,000. I said we're gonna go sideways until about October, November, then hit an all-time high. Well, here we are at 96,000 Canadian. So I think a lot of this has to do with the last cycle. I think it got cut short. I think the all-time high should have been or would have been higher back in 2021, 22, except for the China ban, right? So when China banned Bitcoin, all the miners had to leave. I think that, and you can see it in the chart, big dip. It did bounce back, but I think if we had that uninterrupted, we probably would have hit. Yeah. People were saying 100,000 USD that time. Maybe we would have got closer, right? So that would make this current price not an all-time high, right? So then I think everything would be normal. But who knows? Maybe maybe the ETFs have just fundamentally changed the game.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people say that if the spot ETFs get approved, that's a curveball into this whole entire game, and it's unpredictable, and they don't know what's going to happen. And what we're seeing is, the biggest investment firms in the world buying billions of Bitcoin a day, which is pretty wild. I see some figures between 15 times more demand than there is supply right now. We're like you said, 4.5 weeks from the halving. So it could be a whole unprecedented cycle. And you and I even said last podcast 2 years ago how underwhelming the 69,000 top was this past cycle. So it is very exciting times. I wanted to ask you personally, though, it's been 2 years. You were a bit into the Bitcoin space now, but pretty much double the time you've been into the Bitcoin space. How has your journey developed?
It's been a like you said, it kind of did fly by, right? And I'm not gonna say it was easy holding all the way through. So I didn't sell. I tried to buy more, right? I would say, hindsight being 2020, I wish I hadn't bought as much at the all-time high before, right? I bought a lot on the way up. A lot of that FOMO. I found Bitcoin right before the bull run started, right? So when it was up high, I was buying as much as I could at some pretty high prices. I think I've really only hit the green overall probably really recently with this all-time high. But I've just spent the time learning, right? Whether it's tech stuff, whether it's how to better communicate with people on how to get started with Bitcoin or why they should be in Bitcoin. We started a Bitcoin meetup here locally in Niagara. That's been awesome, hanging out with other Bitcoiners, meeting lots of local Bitcoiners. Went to the Bitcoin conference, just, still listening to the Bitcoin podcast, still reading Bitcoin books, but, it's just been a great time.
Yeah, definitely. And you were just finishing the 7th property the last time we spoke.
Okay, yeah.
And I wanted to get your take on that book because I didn't really dive deep into it. And that's probably my number one recommendation. Like personally, I have, like I said, I had a copy of that book, and it's always the one that my mind comes back to, breaking down the properties of money over history, fungibility, transferability, all that jazz. So I want to get your take on that book if you can.
If I can remember, because you know better the last time I finished it. I do. It is a great book for sure. Like, I'm not sure if it would be the number one book I'd recommend, but it's definitely right up there, right? I do think people should probably take the Bitcoin Standard as sort of definitely check out the Bitcoin Standard, right? Which is available locally at the library here. So if you want to get that and take a look at it. But Seventh Property is really good. Like I learned a lot from that book. Definitely recommend that as one of the top 5. Okay. I do recommend that to people for sure. Yeah. I'm not sure what else would I put in the top 5, but like it's in there, maybe top 3. Yeah. Hard to say.
Yeah, for sure. There's different types of Bitcoin books. Like I got a stack of them now. And there's, a book of everything Satoshi said. Then there's a story of a Winklevoss twins and the story of this. And then some of them are more technical and about the economics and the history of money. So there's a variety of different flavors.
I was going to ask you, have you read Bitcoin for Progressives? I just picked that up. I haven't read it yet.
Yes, I have, by Jason Meyer.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yes, I'm about halfway, 2/3 of the way through, and it's through the Bitcoin through the lens of someone more on the left. Yeah, and traditionally, everything you get is from the right.
So that's why I'm excited to read it, because I would say if you're looking at politically things, I would probably tend more to the right, even though I would say I'm largely try to avoid the left-right split on things, right? But I'm really interested to take a look at that. I thought it would be something that maybe you were interested in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had Jason on the show.
No way.
I had.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, and I also had the host of the Progressive Bitcoin podcast, Trey Walsh. And while it's on my mind, shout out to Joe Gonzalez for letting us use this.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Right Choice
Realty.
Yeah, awesome. For letting us use this space here tonight. Me and Joe did a podcast probably a couple months ago. Yeah. You watched it. It was a longer one. It was good, long conversation. Joe's crypto curious, I guess, or Bitcoin curious.
Exactly.
We'll avoid the crypto word as much as possible. Are you still have your clean record of never purchasing any other coin besides Bitcoin?
I remain my hands. Yeah, I definitely have. So I've luckily early on I found that the Bitcoin only was for me the best way to go. Yeah, I think a lot of people end up there at various points, or maybe they're all destined to be there in the end. For sure. But so I've been Bitcoin only all the way, right? So I do promote Bitcoin only, whether it's Bitcoin only exchanges, Bitcoin only hardware wallets, Bitcoin only I do think it's the top and number one. I think it's going to be the one that wins out, right? So other people want to try other cryptocurrencies. That's up to them, but
people always want to outpace.
Yeah.
It's such a great thing. Bitcoin's, I said this to somebody today, Bitcoin's such a great thing and a great savings tool. And people, it's just not good enough. Like people still want bigger and better. And it's like, no, I don't like getting rich in 8 years. No, I want to get rich in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, even some of those things, it's as, you see that in things, some of the things that blew up, like BlockFi, for example. And I had money in BlockFi for a bit there. People are not satisfied with, 50% gains a year on Bitcoin alone. I want to get 6% more interest. Right. On top of that. And you're putting your whole stack at risk to get 6% extra.
Picking up pennies in front of a freight train.
Exactly. Steamroller, freight train being the thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Now you are wearing a BitcoinBull.com t-shirt.
Bull Bitcoin, yes, sir.
Bull Bitcoin. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Bull Bitcoin is the exchange that I always recommend to people to get started with. They're a Canadian company. They've been around since 2013, I believe. As a side note, I just saw today that they're moving to Alberta. They're moving the company from Quebec to Alberta, so good for them. But they are Bitcoin only. They promote self-custody, which is to me very, very big. So you can't just buy the coins there, your Bitcoin there, and leave it on exchange. You have to take it into your own custody. So that is really big. And they've been a super help to me as well in terms of the meetup that we run. They've helped with some giveaway stuff. They've financially supported us when we've done some bigger events. So just love those guys. A really great support, really great Bitcoiners. I got a chance to meet some of them at the the Canadian Bitcoin conference in Toronto last year, which was cool. Hope to see them again in Montreal in a couple of months. So that's going to be cool. Bull Bitcoin, I do recommend them. They have a great affiliate program as well, and part of the mission, right? So our mission is to destroy fiat, right? That's what we talk about. You can check that out if you're interested in promoting Bull Bitcoin. It's great, and overall, just big fan of their company.
Does fiat kind of destroy itself?
Fiats do tend to destroy themselves. You're right. But the weaker ones will do it in a timeline where you can see it, right? So if you're in Venezuela or somewhere and you have 100% annual inflation and just multiple times over the course of a lifetime, their currency fails. You can see that. But the thing is, they keep bringing it back, right? They resurrect a new fiat in the place of the old fiat. Zimbabwe, you had billion or trillion% inflation. They still come back with something new, right? Unless they're on the US dollar, I'm not sure. But they eventually come with a different fiat, right? And until we break that cycle of central banking, fiat currency, with something that can't be debased, Bitcoin, then they're going to keep bringing in new fiat, whether it's digital, physical, who knows? The
Bitcoin push is like really feeling promising right now with so much of it being bought. It's almost like the world waking up to this new technology that is just going to become, we've never seen anything this scarce before. Like it's kind of scary. Like it could go like way bonkers, way more than what people think, right? Like when I was down in El Salvador, like the people down there, the Bitcoin people down there were hyper bullish that I've never come across that much hype before. So I want to ask you, what are your predictions going into this cycle after this halving that's coming up in 4.5 weeks? What's your low, what's your high between 2024 and 2028?
My low and my high. Well, number one Bitcoin will equal one Bitcoin. We'll agree on that. But if you want to look for a fiat exchange rate, you want to go Canadian dollars? I do think more in Canadian dollars.
Do you?
I've run into a lot of Bitcoiners, even in Canada, that think mostly in American dollars, but it's hard for me. I don't know why. Mostly because when I'm telling normies about, new people about it, they want to know the Canadian dollar price. They don't want to know the American dollar price. So
you are absolutely right on that point.
Well, let's go US dollar price, because I think that everybody else, a lot of people talk that way, and Samson Mao's calling for $1 million, right? Calling for $1 million sooner than later. I don't know, right? And so he's brought in trying to denominate, or basically always doing the denomination in like a decimal. So right now the price is 0.069 million, right? So he'll say the point is 0.07 million. He won't say that it's 70,000. 0.07 million.
Oh, I
right?
see. Okay.
So just basically manifesting that we're going to start denominating it in millions, not in dollars, like just in regular thousands anymore, right? So that's pretty cool. I like that idea. I don't personally, I wouldn't have said, again, I've made price predictions before. I think I would have said 250 for this cycle as a top, 250,000 American for this cycle as an all-time high, but look where we're at right now. So, I mean, I really wouldn't probably still go too much past that, just in looking at maybe 300,000 this cycle.
Okay.
I don't know. Is that too
Yeah.
bullish? Is that not bullish enough?
No, that's good bullish. And me,
Yeah.
like I'm more, I guess, like I will tell people like I think it'll probably go to 150,
Yeah.
and that's like a conservative number because it's still
That's what I tell regular people, but I was telling you what I really think.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, from talking to you then, I'm talking to a Bitcoiner. Yeah, I could definitely see like 250 to 300
Right.
for sure as a top.
Yeah.
And then a correction, of course.
The
and
correction down. Yeah. I'm not sure what we crashed down to. I think we crashed down to like 100,000.
100,000.
Or like USD,
Okay.
maybe 90. I don't know. But like, I don't
Okay.
like that. I don't even
I was thinking today that this might be like the low.
right around now.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay.
'Cause
So it never comes, you're saying we'll never see sub 60,000 USD again or sub 65,000 USD again?
Well, after the halving.
Like,
Yeah.
or do you mean
Like
after the
cycle.
halving?
Yeah, like after the halving. Like
Okay.
now, I don't know what's going to happen going into the halving. Could be like sell the news sort of thing. Not sure because again, unprecedented waters here with these investment firms buying billions of dollars a day. So that's a good number.
I think so.
I like it.
I think so.
I'd be
I mean,
happy.
yeah, I'd be happy either way. Right? And I don't plan to really sell, right?
No.
So, I mean,
What's your all time like? Do you have a game plan? Like, what if Bitcoin does go to $1 million in the next cycle or the next cycle after? And like, what's your game plan? Are you like gonna go live down south? Are you gonna build the Bitcoin community here in Niagara? What would be your game plan if you got enough Bitcoin to live?
great question. I do want to keep building the Bitcoin community here in Niagara. I think we do have a strong community, and I want to see it keep growing. Like, we don't have a lot of merchants accepting Bitcoin just yet. I think that's something that I'm looking to work on. Hopefully other people can start orange pilling some businesses, get that lightning network going. Like, there's plenty of cities and locations around the world, and you've been to some of them, where you can totally transact in Bitcoin, right? And I don't think there's any real reason we couldn't make that a possibility here in Niagara. We just need to work on those business owners who understand Bitcoin a bit. But long-term game plan, like I really don't intend to sell my Bitcoin long-term. I'm trying to think of it as generational wealth. I do have kids, so hopefully that can go to them and their grandkids. But at $500,000 US, maybe I still have a mortgage on a house. Maybe I wouldn't have a mortgage on a house anymore. Who knows, right? I don't have that much Bitcoin, so I do the best I can because remember, I bought at the top, right? I wasn't buying when we were talking last time. It's not like I had a ton of money hanging around to buy, right? I had already done all the buying I could, right? So just still doing my regular stacking, do a little mining, building the stack there, but nothing crazy. So we have to go pretty crazy for me to live
lavishly,
too lavishly, right?
Right. That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, your journey has started
For sure.
Yeah. Now you mentioned you have kids, and last podcast you mentioned that you and him would read Tomer Strolight.
Yeah, we did. We read Tomer Strolight's book together. Yeah, What is Bitcoin?
Yeah. So like he's now almost 2 years older.
15. Yeah.
Is he still on the Bitcoin journey? Is he still learning along with you?
Yeah, he does learn along with me. Like he'll come with me if I'm doing a seminar or something. Sometimes he'll come. He's come to some of the Bitcoin meetups. That's not really his thing anymore. He has come and helped me out, handing out tickets and checking the things out, right? Which is, I'm glad. He still gets part of his allowance in Bitcoin, right? Which is fun. He understands Bitcoin pretty well. He doesn't, I think the thing is, it's one of those, if your father thinks it's cool, you probably don't think it's that cool, right? So that's one of those things. So I'm like, I come to my, at the dinner table, hey guys, Bitcoin's at all-time high today. All right, whatever. Yeah. Right? There's just no excitement on that, but that's okay. Right. He's excited that he put some of his savings into Bitcoin in January, right? And now it's got a 60% gain, right? So he's saving for a new gaming computer. He's pretty happy about that, right? As opposed to just leaving it in a jar. He's got it in his nunchuck wallet.
He can realize those gains.
He can realize those gains. Yeah. And the thing with his allowance, right? So back, it's got to be not much long, maybe almost 2 years ago. I'm not sure. In order to stop him from thinking in fiat, right? So at the time he was getting $10 every 2 weeks, $10 every 2 weeks in allowance, right? And I said, well, the savings part, because he had to do savings, spending, giving. The savings part, let's do it in Bitcoin. So I'd give it to him in Lightning. And I said to him, well, you know what? Let's stop thinking of that as $2 because that's fiat mindset, that this is $2, right? Let's set it as sats, right? So instead of me giving you $2 Canadian every 2 weeks, it's going to be 7,500 sats. What do you 7,500 sats now is like $5 American. So his allowance has just naturally gone up, which is the power of Bitcoin, right? It's kind of on a small scale. You can see the same amount of sats buys so much more.
Oh, you give him the same amount of stats even when the price goes up.
It's a static amount of sats because we think in Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
You don't want to think don't think in dollars, think in fiat.
Wow.
I said, don't think in dollars, think in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? Stop thinking in fiat.
Wow.
Right. So it's just like when I think about my stack, I don't think I got half a Bitcoin. I think, I don't think I have $45,000, for example. I got half a Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter. Like that's the number. And if I want to convert it, it's the other way.
Right.
I don't convert into Bitcoin from the dollars.
Yeah, you're really planning ahead for the Bitcoin standard.
Yeah, well, that's what I think we should do that, right? That's
sure.
It's coming. It's coming soon.
Yeah,
sooner than we think. I think.
Yeah, a lot of these, like, I think Bitcoin was the quickest asset to hit $1 trillion market cap, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Or like I remember seeing a chart where it showed like
right up there.
Yeah. Anyways, so talking about the Bitcoin Niagara meetup.
Yep.
Tell me, like, the maybe genesis of it and where it's at now and just a little bit about it.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So the very first time I ever went to any Bitcoin meetup was at Tahini's in Hamilton. Right. I can't remember what year that was, probably 2021. I don't know. So that was awesome. There was tons of Bitcoiners there. Were you there? I don't know.
No, I wasn't there. You were telling me about it.
It was jam-packed, right? And I'm like, well, this is awesome. Maybe, at some point it'd be cool if there was a Bitcoin meetup down this way. And as a part, again, this is thanks to Bull Bitcoin, because Bull Bitcoin is part of their mission affiliate program. We would have like group phone calls or group, I don't know, they weren't Zoom calls, but they were audio calls. And talking with the team, like the Bull Bitcoin team, and they said, like, if you're starting a Bitcoin meetup, let us know. We'll give you some support, whatnot. So really, if there isn't one that you won't, something like that, what you can do is just start it yourself, right? So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do that. So I think that was October of 2022. We put it together. It was at the Counterpart Brewery. I just got some people together. I said, hey, I advertised it. I told D from CoinKite about it. So I had met him at that aforementioned meetup. He came, brought a cold card to give away, right? A bunch of people came from local, some of my friends, friends of my friends, Bitcoiners from Hamilton. They stopped by. So it was great. After that, I think it was, that was in November. Either way, January of 2023, we started our regular meetups. So I found a location. We were actually in a church basement to start in Niagara Falls. And because some people were interested in getting some more education on Bitcoin, right? So I had a little PowerPoint presentation. We talk about Bitcoin, do a little teaching, and then just go hang out across the street, have a beverage, maybe a chicken sandwich or whatnot, and just and do that, right? So that was fun. Now we've kind of cut out the teaching part just because people don't necessarily need that all the time, and it was a little bit more work for me. So now we just hang out every third Wednesday of the month and talk Bitcoin. So we've been doing that pretty much every month since January 2023. So we're well into our second year of doing that. So we've got one coming up next week, March 20th at the Eager Beaver. That's where we've been meeting nowadays. It stays open later than the other restaurant we were at. So at the Eager Beaver in Niagara Falls on Drummond Road there, 7 p.m. on the third Wednesday of the month, right? So if people want to check that out, stop by, come talk Bitcoin. There's tons of fun Bitcoiners there. We've had great turnout. There was a snowstorm in January. There was only 3 of us, okay? Only 3 guys came out in the snowstorm. But before the holidays, we had 12, 13, 14 guys. Last time, I think we had 16 people there. And I'm looking to make, we've had some big ones. We've had some special events. October last year, we had Bitcoin Lake Edition. We had a guest speaker from Guatemala. We talked to Rudy from Guatemala, Bitcoin Lake. And that was awesome. We had I think almost 30 people there for that. It was super cool. And just good times talking Bitcoin.
So sorry, he's from Bitcoin Lake?
Bitcoin Lake, right? So which is like similar to Bitcoin Beach, right? It's a Bitcoin community that's based around Lake, I want to say Lake Atitlan. I'm not sure that's correct pronunciation, but if you look up Bitcoin Lake on Twitter, you can find those guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's and apparently, from what I've heard, like in Guatemala, you can almost go more Bitcoin only than in El Salvador.
Really?
That's what those guys are saying. So
wow.
Another guy that comes to the meetup, he's been back and forth to Guatemala multiple times.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Because I would like to go somewhere new that is very Bitcoin centric like that, a circular economy.
Definitely. That's the place to go, I think. So you got the 3 in South America, right? So you've been to Bitcoin Beach, Bitcoin Lake is there, and then Bitcoin Jungle would be your other option, right? In Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I actually met some Germans that were passing through the time. They were on to Bitcoin Jungle going next. Yeah.
And Berlin, I'm going to be going to Berlin in El Salvador. I don't know if you ever made it to there.
I didn't. No, it was a few hours away and I was only there for 8 days. Okay. So it was pushing it.
Nice.
Yeah. So you're going, how long are you going to be there for? And Tell us what your plans.
What's up? So I'm going to be headed down to El Salvador for the halving party, right? Pretty fired up about that. Convinced my wife to go with me, right? Not really much of a Bitcoiner, but she likes trips to down south, so that's cool. We're going to go to the halving party on April. It starts April 3rd. We're going to arrive in the country on April 2nd.
Yeah.
Going to head to San Salvador for the night. Check that out. And the next day, head over to the resort for 3 days. Then we're going to go to El Zante for 4 nights, I guess. We're going to be in El Zante till the 10th.
Okay.
And then from the 10th to the 13th, we'll be in Berlin.
Wow.
So it's going to be cool.
Yeah, you're going to see the best of the best Bitcoin circular economy.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That's going to be a fun trip, man. So do you know where you're staying in Bitcoin Beach?
In Bitcoin, there I've got an Airbnb.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's right down near the beach, not too far from everything, I think.
Okay.
So
yeah, there's going to be a lot going on there. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of Bitcoiners are coming.
A lot of guys are going to the halving party and then onward to El Zante. So
yeah.
I've already got a guy, I think he's Australian. He's coming with me from the city to there, and he's going to hitch a ride with me as well. We're splitting a ride. We're just split the fare on to El Zante as well. So there's tons of guys. And we have a group chat on Keat, just talking about what's going on at the halving party. Everybody who's going. A lot of people are going.
Yeah, no doubt. There's also the Bit Driver. The first Bitcoin taxi you could also take in.
I'm riding with BitDriver from the city to the resort.
Oh, that's
I've already booked that.
Okay.
Already paid my deposit in Lightning.
Okay.
Price is already doubled. Because I paid on February 7th. Literally, the price is 50% higher.
Right.
So, but what are you going to do? I rebought at the time, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I spend my sats freely.
So when I was down there, it was actually so much more convenient I would just use Bitcoin Well. You buy it, goes right to my Lightning wallet. And then I'm just wherever you go.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Nice.
And pretty instant. It was like obviously my first time doing that, paying for something
with Lightning.
Yeah.
With Lightning. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. I might have done some like online just with people coming on my podcast. Oh, check it out. Here's things, but to actually, transact and everybody, I'm going for coffee and, locals are accepting it.
Yeah.
And it's just like a normal thing.
Right.
It's like, wow. Like
that's going to be awesome.
This is where I want to be. But Guatemala, I want to check that out. Bitcoin, like that's definitely cool. You said you were into hockey cards.
I don't think that was me.
No?
No.
You said when you were younger or something.
Oh, when I was younger, sure. Yeah. Like I had a little hockey card collection for sure. I had a bunch of Canadians. Like I had some Patrick Waugh cards. I think I had a Patrick Waugh rookie card, right? I think I might have been using that as an example of something that's scarce, right?
Yeah.
So it's something scarce that's going to go up in value, possibly, right? But you can't make more Patrick Waugh rookie cards, right? Yeah. You can make a ton more hockey cards, right? Tim Hortons can pump them out like crazy every season or whatever, and there's going to flood the market. And whether or not they keep their value, it's hard to say. Yeah. But the rarest ones will, right? You can't make any more, and that's a great example for Bitcoin in some ways, right? There's just no way of making any more Bitcoin past a certain point. But it's been a while since I've been.
There's this golden Bedard card out right now that everybody's ripping open packages for. So I wasn't sure if you were on that crazy.
I haven't started looking for that. I'm sure my father, my father probably is. He still checks into those hockey cards.
So were you around in the 2020 during the 2020 halving, or did you come in after?
No, I came in. What month was that? That was May, right? Give or take.
Yeah.
No, this will be my first halving. Yeah. So I was just learning about Bitcoin then. Okay. Like I was reading books and maybe doing a little bit of research, but I was not really even paying too much attention to the price, right? Yeah. Other than, I was tracking the price a little bit roughly, right? Because of finding out about Bitcoin, but I didn't make a purchase in Bitcoin until September of that year. And that was really not real Bitcoin. That was on Wealthsimple, right? So I got a Bitcoin IOU, right? I'm at $25, right? And from there I did start adding in on Wealthsimple, right? And then I first took custody of Bitcoin. So to me, that's the time I really owned Bitcoin, January of 2020, right? Block number 666417.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I looked it up, right? I want to put it on a coffee mug, right? 666417, right? Because that's the first time I really became a Bitcoiner in my own mind.
I'm going to have to look up my block now.
Yeah, right? Yeah. If you take a look at your whatever.
Born, it'll be in my Twitter profile, born on block.
Bitcoiner since this, right? And that's the next thing, right? Is we're going to only use block height for date, right? Yeah. Instead of using, hey, we had this podcast on March 14th. Yeah. No, we had this podcast at block height. Whatever.
Yeah.
Right? We got to start doing that.
Whatever. 24, whatever we're at right now.
Getting close to 840.
Yeah. 840. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's the halving, right?
That's the halving. Yeah. So I think I was just like at my house last time watching like Pomp or something like on the Bitcoin halving countdown,
Yeah.
just watching the number like switch. But it's such a big deal that, most people don't understand. And, mentioning, buying your Bitcoin on Wealthsimple, having an IOU is very similar to, what's happening right now with these ETFs.
Mhm.
People are buying the Bitcoin ETFs, but they don't really own Bitcoin for one of its main purposes at the end of the day when you own it for there. So what would you say to someone that is contemplating getting into Bitcoin exposure
Mhm.
and they're already on the stock market, easier for them to just buy the ETF? What would you say to them to convince them otherwise? Or would you just say that's better for you?
Yeah. And so first thing is I wouldn't necessarily try to convince them otherwise, right? If they're interested in doing that, maybe they probably should. The thing I would tell them though is to keep studying Bitcoin, right? Like if you're buying the ETF, right? So hopefully that means you're interested in it. You think it's going to have a future. It's going to be appreciating. It's going to be a good investment. Well, why is it a good investment, right? Do you understand what's going on here? Why is these mega corporations decided to offer these ETFs? Why were they fighting to offer these ETFs? Why are they slashing their fees to literally zero to try and get the most possible Bitcoin, right? I think one of them just dropped it to zero again for 6 more months, right? Zero fees. So what's going on there that they want to do that? And should you want to actually own it yourself, right? So if people do a little research on that, if they've got the price exposure in the ETF, if that's the way they want to go, then that's fine. And maybe that's because it's in something registered. That might be the way to go. Maybe they're a little scared of holding it themselves. I just started a company helping people with that. So I would suggest that they could take a look at, how it can be not that overwhelming, especially if you have some help to take self-custody. But whether they go ETF or not, as long as they understand that ETF really belongs to BlackRock and they just owe you the fiat, because there's no way you can get the Bitcoin from them. When I did own on Wealthsimple, I only could get cash. I could only get dollars. Nowadays, they will let you send out actual Bitcoin, but you couldn't at the time, right? So it was totally an IOU for Bitcoin, and that is what the ETFs are. So as long as they understand that, if that's what they want, that's what they want. Maybe they should get both. I don't know. I think owning self-custody Bitcoin is the true scarcity, right? There's only ever going to be 21 million real Bitcoin self-custody.
Right. And I guess you never really know what could happen, right? Like, they're going to be, whether government comes knocking for your Bitcoin one day too, like obviously they're going to be 100% compliant with that. All sorts of things. Honeypots, are going to be a bigger attraction for hackers.
All those ETFs, except for 2 of them, right? Or one of them, only Fidelity self-custodies their own Bitcoin, right? So you have to trust Fidelity to hold your Bitcoin. And as long as they don't lose it, they don't get hacked, they don't have it stolen, taken by the government, that's fine. Everybody else, you have to trust BlackRock and Coinbase, right? So there's like multiple points of counterparty risk there. So, I mean, obviously that's still very safe. I'm sure that these are big companies. The ETFs are not like, it's not like leaving it at Quadriga or leaving it on FTX or something, right? That's not some fly-by-night total Ponzi scheme scam like some of those things were, right? These are, big companies, but there's a different level of risk there, right? As long as you're aware of that, some people that might be the way to go, but not for me, right? And not for the people that I'm going to teach directly about Bitcoin.
Right. Well, it's a part of the journey, right? You did the same thing, right? So when you first started out, and I don't know, I don't even remember. I would have held mine on an exchange, I think, at first. No, I didn't have self custody. I just had it on a crypto exchange. I was on so many obscure crypto exchanges in 2017, man. Just so many odd websites. It's hard to even track everything that went on. But what about a Niagara Bitcoin? Bitcoin halving countdown in Niagara. Have you thought about doing something like that?
Oh, okay, so I was gonna. That good that you brought that back up. So I have been contacted by the Canadian, I'd have to look it up. There's a group that's what they're trying to do is throughout Canada, get all the meetups to have a meetup on April 18th and have like a simultaneous halving party for everyone. Okay. Now, I don't know that that's going to coincide with the actual countdown halving party. The thing is with that, number one, we don't know exactly when it is, right? Obviously, the closer we get, the more sure we can be. Like a few months ago, we didn't know if it would be the 19th or the 20th, or it could have been the 18th, right? Because it all depends on how fast the miners are adding or losing hashing power. And of course, it could happen in the middle of the night, right? So I'm not probably going to hang out, be awake. Maybe that's a young man's game. You can wait, stay up till 3 a.m. to watch it flip over. I don't know. But there is a halving party afterwards. I think it'll be on the 20th. That's in Waterloo. I'm going to try to, Kitchener Waterloo. I'm going to try to go to that. But I think locally we'll move our Bitcoin meetup back a day and try to make it so that we can celebrate simultaneously with Bitcoin meetups across the country.
Wow.
And celebrate that. And then we have some video feeds. It's going to be cool.
Okay.
So that's still a work in progress as we're planning how and when that's going to happen. So that'll be April 18th, 2024, somewhere.
April 18th.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a Thursday. So the Thursday right before the halving, because I think the halving is going to be the 19th.
Okay.
But I don't know when.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was thinking like I want to do something like that.
So that leaves the Friday free, right? So if there's a party in Kitchener Waterloo on the 19th and we're doing that on the 18th, who knows what's going on the Friday?
Yeah.
Why not? Let's get something going on in between there. So
oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and
we
this is
got to
your first one, right?
This is my first halving, so it is exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Awesome. Well, I definitely want to talk more about that and hash out those details and. Yeah. So what do you think should be like the mission for, building up in Niagara? You talked about, getting merchant adoption, but we also face the issue of, having a taxable event on every transaction. So until those law changes, what do you think should be, the main way that we build up Bitcoin community and knowledge in this area? Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point, right? Because there is this taxable event. Well, every time you're going to spend your Bitcoin. Until recently, they were all tax losses for me, so I didn't worry about a whole lot. And there's nowhere to spend Bitcoin around here, but I have spent Bitcoin on different items. But I think we just need to keep spreading the word, right? We need to tell people, hey, when you see this price goes up, this is why. We want to keep just like a network of people sharing with other people, right? I'm sure you tell people about Bitcoin. I'm sure they come to you. I was going to say, have you got a lot of calls as the price goes up? Are you getting a lot or not so many? I'm not getting that many.
You're not getting that many?
Not a ton, a few.
Okay, yeah, I know I'm getting a few.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting a few. People mention it. People at work know I'm into it. So, I saw the news, Bitcoin, you must be happy or whatever.
But I mean, in terms of people like saying, hey, can you help me get some?
Oh.
I feel like that FOMO hasn't kicked in yet. Like that retail FOMO.
No, just a couple.
Just a few people.
Just a couple.
I would have expected more at all-time high. That's why I think the all-time high is not
It's
really
like a quiet all-time high.
It is quiet.
Yeah.
But if we keep telling people that there are Bitcoiners that, hey, look at what's going on. So, we have the Meetup group. I share occasionally on Facebook on my own page. I do there's a Niagara Bitcoin Meetup Facebook page as well. I share there if people can check that out. More and more people, I think, are picking it up, learning about it. Quite a few Bitcoiners that I know locally. Yeah, we just got to keep working on that. The more business owners we have that are going to accept that is good, whether or not, even if they're just adding it to their balance sheet, right? And just making it understood that, hey, if you want your business, your charity, whatever it is, to be here around for the long term, if you can get some Bitcoin on your balance sheet right now, right? Like that's, take a look at what MicroStrategy is doing, or, you're not going to be at that level, right? Issuing debt to buy it. But if you have cash somewhere, put a little bit of Bitcoin on your balance sheet, see what happens, right? A lot of the adoption, I think, is going to be driven by things like inflation, things like, people seeing just the cost of living going up and up and up in dollars, but staying stable or going down in Bitcoin, right? And the more we Bitcoiners or people who understand Bitcoin can talk about how that works, the better, right? And some people, especially in places like Canada and the United States, they're not going to see it as clearly as the people in El Salvador. They don't see their money, disappearing in value nearly as quickly, right?
Right.
Just a little bit, but...
Well, and there's just the fact that the way they've legalized and regulated it there is just kind of like made everybody, oh, what's this? We have Bitcoin now. And a lot of them there don't think much of it. And then you get all guys like us going down there and be like, this is awesome. You guys should embrace it more. And then they kind of, oh, yeah, I'll start accepting it.
Yeah. Would you have gone to El Salvador in 2023 or 4 if there was no Bitcoin?
God, no.
Of course not. It wouldn't have even been a possibility.
No.
Right. And even I wouldn't have ever gone. Maybe I would have gone to the beach, I guess, but I never would have gone to this little town in the mountains that I would never even heard of. Right? I knew there was a place called Berlin in El Salvador. I'm totally going because they have an amazing, vibrant Bitcoin economy there, and I want to check it out. Yeah. So that's exciting. Other countries, other places are going to see that. They already are, right? And we're going to see. I think, like I said, we're just getting started.
We're just getting started because we're getting, corporations are buying, but we're not seeing countries go all in yet, right? There's some actions behind the scenes, I think. Not too many are public about it. but there's got to be
there's got to be
action,
right? Like in terms of what the amounts that we're seeing, even just the price run ups that we're seeing, there's some big players making big purchases.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff we're not going to see till, reporting time at the end of the next quarter, some fit for businesses.
Yeah. And on that note, I think there was a book that came out, quite complex topic, but Bitcoin as a national defense, strategic national defense.
Like the Jason Lowry one?
The Jason Lowry one. Yes,
his
thesis. Did you see much of that? Or
I don't know. It's just so weird that this is government agent guy talking about it. I was just followed it loosely on Twitter. I did not read the book or whatever, right? I know because it's some of the part where I feel like people were, at least I was watching people respond to his ideas.
Right.
Some part of his idea was that Bitcoin is a weapon, right? Which doesn't make sense, right? Bitcoin's not a weapon, right? If anything, Bitcoin's a wall, right? It defends you from other weapons, right? So we don't want to let people label Bitcoin as this thing that can destroy economies, right? Because that's exactly what a government that would want to ban it would say. Oh, this Bitcoin's going to come in and destroy everything. And I'm sure there's like in Nigeria, that's what they're saying. You can't use Bitcoin because it's destroying the value of our naira, right? When really, it's the government that's destroying the value of their fiat currency, and the Bitcoin exposes it, right? They hate having the Bitcoin there to expose the fiat debasement.
Right. Yeah, no, I have the book, but I don't even think it's for sale anymore.
I heard that allegedly the government made him take it down or something like that.
I'm not too sure about that, but like when I looked up, it's true. Like you can't buy it. Like I looked it up and there's nowhere you can buy it, but you can. There's there's websites that you can get like PDF versions of it, no problem.
Right.
But that's interesting. That just his whole position and that he's like MIT. I forget his position.
Some people who I respect have thought it was pretty good, right? So I mean, someday I should probably check it out.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe if you have a book that you haven't read, we'll trade the books. Or something.
We should do some. We should do some.
That's another thing too. That I want to start maybe at the meetup is even having people like make a little lending library, right?
Yeah.
Because as much as people should buy and support these authors who are doing these amazing books, right? At the same time, you could also use those sats to stack yourself, right? Instead of we should.
And then you pick your favorite ones and you purchase your favorite ones, right? Ones that you want to study.
Definitely ones that you're going to want to have on your shelf to go over again or to lend to other people that you know. So that's something that had popped into my head. I haven't put that into action yet, but I think that'd be kind of cool.
So one of the guys from El Salvador, Bitcoin Beach, Ronnie, he launched the Bitcoin hardware store.
Yep.
And obviously, I told him like this is gonna be a huge attraction down here. Like everyone's gonna want to go to the Bitcoin hardware store. Go. Of course,
yeah.
You check out all the different products, all the different self custody tools. They're really he's very I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but just goes with has Bitcoin with the Bitcoin ethos of like self custody, and he just preaches those principles a lot. So he's gonna get a lot of folks checking out that. But my question was, can you see anything like any physical location needed for Niagara or beneficial? Like could something like that exist down here? If not today, in the near future?
I don't know. Maybe. The thing is with one of those places, and I know that they do exist even in Canada, right? There's one in Winnipeg. I can't remember what it's called. But they were at the Bitcoin conference in Canada. So I got their flyer at somewhere, but it's that exact kind of thing, right? Where they have hardware wallets for sale and different things, I don't know if that store, how well that would do, right? Especially in the age of where for us using shipping and just ordering it from the company is pretty easy. I know in El Salvador, it's not like you can just easily order from CoinKite to get yourself a cold card, right? You can't just that easily ask a Blockstream to send you something. I think it's expensive. You run the risk of things getting lost in the mail. But a place where you could show up and talk Bitcoin could be pretty cool. And that would be that kind of a place, right? Now, if I was running it, it would have to be Bitcoin only, meaning, and that would limit some of the stuff, right? In terms of, I don't know, I wouldn't sell ledgers, for example. I would only
Bitcoin only hardware wallets.
I would probably only sell mostly Bitcoin only, but I just Ledger with some of the issues that they've had lately. I wouldn't be comfortable selling ledgers.
Yeah. So the argument there is that having a cryptocurrency wallet that you can have other coins besides Bitcoin opens up vulnerabilities to your Bitcoin.
Potentially, right? And then even more so than that, because I think on a Trezor you can have other things, right? Like you can have other right. So
yes, you can. They do have a Bitcoin only version, but they also have
but so even there, because I believe Trezor is an open source product, whereas Ledger is not. Ledger's had a few issues that the whole thing where the shard, like the taking of your key and the spreading it out to different companies. And I know that's supposed to be optional, but I'm not interested in having a device where they can potentially take the key out.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of having a hardware device is you can't
Do that.
You can't do that. But that's a product. And I understand why they want that product, right? I just think that should have been a separate device altogether, not something that was on your regular ledger, right? And they don't have a Bitcoin only product, and it's closed source.
Right.
And recently I saw on Twitter that they have some issue, like their Ledger Live product. There's a lot of tracking, a lot of really logging everything you're doing. Probably on the up and up for marketing purposes. I don't know, but it's tracking everything. Right. So that's not something I'm personally interested in either. I'm a kind of a privacy advocate as well, as much as I'm on a Bitcoin podcast, publicly video.
Yeah.
Right. But both Bitcoin, we have that same ethos of privacy, self-custody. I'm not that interested in using Ledger Live particularly, but
gotcha.
So if you do have a Ledger, use it with Sparrow. Sparrow wallet is the best wallet on your computer. For sure.
I've heard that before too.
100%.
Yeah. So I have a question about, the other Bitcoiners that you're meeting.
Yep.
And do you find, like, because we're talking about privacy and you're putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself on the line a little bit, right? Like you and I are both putting ourselves on the line a little bit, but putting ourselves publicly talking about Bitcoin. And how many people do you think are doing this compared to how many people are just buying Bitcoin in the background, just staying silent,
right?
And as into it as we are.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the people who are super into it do get excited, and they're probably going to show up to a Bitcoin meetup if they know it's there. Not everybody. Some people are going to be fully private, right? Like if you're Gigi at a conference wearing a green suit, right, or anytime he's on a podcast in a green suit, right? That's like next level privacy. But there probably is, obviously, if we have 15 people showing up to our meetups kind of regularly, or maybe 20 people 25 people who have been in and out. There's probably hundreds of people who have Bitcoin. If the ones who are as into it as we are knew about it, they're probably going to show up, right? From time to time, maybe, or at least be doing something somewhat publicly. I know, like, even other people that I've told about Bitcoin lately, like, he's like, well, we should do a seminar. I'm like, yeah, I guess we can do it. We can do a seminar, right? Yeah. So we put it on like 2 weeks ago at in a church in Stevensville. We just did a seminar where he was excited to tell people about Bitcoin, because when you really get Bitcoin, it's hard to not tell people about it. Right. The first rule of Bitcoin is do not talk about Bitcoin. Yeah. But everyone is terrible at that, right? The main thing, I've said this at the meetup, of course, you can talk about Bitcoin. Don't talk about your Bitcoin. Right. So we're not going to talk about, hey, this is how much I have, right? We're never going to talk about that. We're not really going to talk in depth about what our setups are, or hey, all my Bitcoin is, buried under my tree or something like that, right? I mean, I'm comfortable telling people, no, you want to have geographically distributed multi-sig. That's the ideal, right? So no one can steal it. Now, beyond that, I would not talk too much about your setup. So
yeah, you know what? It's funny because people think when you're in Bitcoin, a lot of normies and people that aren't in Bitcoin feel like it's okay to ask you how much Bitcoin you have. And I'm like, my response is usually, how much money is in your bank account?
Well, what do you do if they say, $250?
I don't know.
Right?
I'll make up a fake Bitcoin number probably.
Yeah. The answer I always say is not enough, right? I'm working on, I'm working on getting my first coin, right? Like, or working on getting a full coin, which is accurate whether you're getting your first coin or you're getting your 1,000th coin. I'm working on a full coin. Yeah. You're just working on the next one because you're always stacking and they don't sell. Right. So, and the thing is, and some people have pointed this out, whenever you're telling people when you got into Bitcoin, they're like, well, people could guess how much you have, but can they really though? Right. Like if you and me, you and me are totally different ages, totally different points in our lives. Even though you got in Bitcoin earlier, you might not have had as much free cash flow, or maybe you had more because you don't have kids, right? And you don't have a mortgage and whatever. So to me, if you can, based on when someone gets in, I feel like you have a range. So if you got in 2020 like I did, you probably have somewhere between a quarter of a Bitcoin and 30 Bitcoin, somewhere in there, right? That's kind of a huge range, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm closer to the low end. So
yeah. No, well, I mean, just based it on, the average, income of a normal human being, like how much can you really, really
how much debt were you in? How much if you have a spouse, did they let you just buy all the Bitcoin you wanted to do? Or right?
There's a lot of variables.
There's a whole lot of variables. So just never tell anyone how much Bitcoin you have.
Right.
Is probably just your best practice. And ideally, of course, don't tell anyone about Bitcoin. Don't even mention it.
Yeah.
I'm already well past that point. So
are you?
Look, we are. We're both well past that point.
Even at all-time highs?
At all-time highs, I'll still, I mean, maybe at some point, if it gets high enough, I guess I'll have to just go dark and just delete all my accounts, right?
Yeah.
You know, maybe and move.
I'll know Bitcoin's doing well that
Bitcoin,
day.
when
Where's
Sean
go?
disappears,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, over time, famous Bitcoiners have died or disappeared or allegedly died. And they you know, that's a move, right? Just disappear.
Yeah. Even Satoshi himself has started that, right?
Bingo.
So I saw someone get mad I think it was Jack Mallers. He got mad when people were speculating about Satoshi, and he's like, this is
disrespectful.
Like yeah, because the only thing he wanted was to be anonymous, and you know, and I kind of agree with him. I'm like, at this point, like, no one knows.
I don't think we'll ever know. I don't really care, other than, I mean, the only thing we know is it's not Craig Wright.
Yeah.
Like, we know 100% for sure.
Right.
It's not that guy. Could be you, could be me.
Yeah.
But it ain't him.
No.
Right. So that we know. And other than that, if someone ever found out, to be interesting, but I'm not ever going to look too far deep into it.
No. Yeah. I think
the mystery is cooler.
Mystery is cooler. It's a good, like, you know, it's a good thing that someone did, I feel like, by disappearing.
And imagine if he disappeared, imagine he was still alive, right? Which I would tend to doubt. But if he was, like, talk about like a gift of just not revealing yourself, right? And just staying quiet, as literally got to be close to the richest person in the world.
Yes.
Right? And you're just going to stay quiet.
Now, I saw something like he's got 1.1 million Bitcoins.
Around there. We don't know. That's sort of the publicly known amount.
Okay. But because that's spread out over a whole shit ton of wallets, is it not?
I don't know.
Okay. That's what I saw recently or last, was that it's just spread over like so many different wallets.
Well, yeah, because early on you didn't have like one wallet. Like every single address was like its own thing, and you had to have a private key for each address, I think is how that worked out. Right?
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot here tonight. Given myself lots to digest as usual. Is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you think that we should, or any final comments, words of wisdom? If not, maybe just let us know where we can follow your Bitcoin journey.
If you need to go in depth on it or not, if people just want to check it out, I did started lock8bitcoin.com. So that's my company where I'm going to help people, whether they're just getting started with Bitcoin or they have Bitcoin, they want to take better custody of it. They want to take it off the exchange, use a hardware wallet, use a collaborative custody setup, any of those things. Basically, if it's some part of Bitcoin and you need help, I'm going to be there to do that. So if people want to check that out, lock8bitcoin.com, free consultation. We can do that by Zoom. We can do it at a coffee shop locally. If you're farther away, obviously it'll have to be by Zoom. So I'm excited about that. Niagara Bitcoin Meetup, come hang out with us there. Third Wednesday of the month. This month, it's next week, March 20th at the Eager Beaver in Niagara Falls. So hope to see people there. Oh, and this month, can't believe I almost forgot. This month, we are giving away a ticket to the Canadian Bitcoin Conference in Montreal. So thank you very much to the conference for that. So if you want a chance, it's like a $350 value. If you want a chance to win that, come on out to our meetup on March 20th. It's going to be fire.
Awesome. Dude, what's the, how are you going to give it out?
We're just going to have a draw. We'll have a pull out of a hat. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Very cool, man. Nice. I appreciate you coming way out here tonight and doing this with me. I feel like this is actually my first in real life podcast in Niagara. I did some in Toronto. I've done some in El Salvador.
Nice.
But in Niagara, this is my first one, and it's been really cool. And
awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for doing this,
All right,
Shaun.
thanks, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.